Today we're starting our new unit, and this is all about roots in real numbers, which means we're going to be square rooting so many things a million times today. And then we're also going to be talking about whether a number is real or whether it's imaginary or just not real. Ooh, okay. So the first thing we're going to talk about is how to simplify the following expressions, because you're going to have to do this a million times today. So some of these you might know off the top of your head, and some of these you're going to be like, what does this exponent really do, and what does a cube root mean? So a, square root of 64, we know this, it's 8. Ta-da! B says the square root of negative 64, and some of you are probably like, oh, negative 8, yay! But if you put that into your calculator, you will realize that that's going to say error. This is not a real number, so you're going to write not real. He's fake. He's really imaginary, and we'll get into that later. The next one, cube root of 64. If you're not sure, put it in your calculator, or just multiply some stuff together 3 times, and that gets you 4. And then the cube root of negative 64. Some of you are probably like, oh, not real. Well, that's not true. If you're cube rooting and it's a negative number, you really can cube root a negative number. The cube root of negative 64 is negative 4, because I can take negative 4 times negative 4 times negative 4, and I'll get 64. But I can't take negative 8 times negative 8 to get negative 64, or 8 times 8 to get negative 64. It doesn't work that way. Okay, moving on. When you have a square root and something that has an exponent, or a cube root and something that has an exponent. A cube root, you can see that's the 3. There's a 3 there. Square root, we don't write it, but there's secretly a 2 here. Secretly. And what this square root does to the exponent is it divides it. So what you're doing is taking 4 and dividing it by this 2. We're going to take 6 and divide it by that 2. We're then going to take this negative 6, but this time we'll divide it by 3 because it's a cube root. This 6 is going to be divided by 3 because it's a cube root. What you're doing is, it's bizarre, but the square root divides the exponent. So a is going to become 8 to the 2nd power, because 4 divided by 2 is 2. So that's 64. This one, I'm taking 6 divided by 2, so you end up with a to the 3rd power. This guy over here, we're going to have to do some magic. We're going to take negative 6 and divide it by 3, so we get 10 to the negative 2nd power. We can't have negative exponents, so I'm going to move him down to the bottom. And we have 1 all over 10 to the 2nd power. And then we're going to actually square 10. So you're going to end up with 1 all over 100. I want to put the final answers in boxes so you guys see. And then this last one, we're taking the 6 and dividing it by 3 this time because it's a cube root. So you end up with a to the 2nd power. So you're just dividing. If it's square root, there's a secret 2 there, and you divide. If it's cube root, there's an obvious 3 there, and you divide it by 3. Now we're going to solve these lovely problems. This looks like a nice one-step equation, and it kind of is. Before I can solve this, I want to get the thing that's squared totally by itself. So I'm going to add 7 to both sides. So now I have y squared equals 7. And then the thing that's squared, in order to undo something that is squared, we square root both sides. You really do have to show that step. You're square rooting both sides. So you end up with y. The square root cancels the squared, because think about it. There's a secret 2 here, and 2 divided by 2 is 1. So you have y to the 1st power, which is what we wanted. Equals, we're not actually going to write the decimal form of this. There's no need to do that. Your final answer is actually just the square root of 7, but you know that it's a positive 7, but also a negative 7. You guys had a name for it. I forget what it was. We joked about it in class. You joked about it in class. I'm not part of the inside joke. But anyways, positive and negative is what you're going to write in front of your answer. And this is what you end up with. Y is equal to a positive and a negative square root of 7. Moving on. This guy. So the thing that's squared is already by itself, which is awesome. So all we're going to do is square root both sides. But dun dun dun, we can't square root a negative number. So the answer to this is no real solution. Eventually I'm going to teach you how to really solve this, but right now, since we're only dealing with real numbers, we can't solve this. We don't know how. So there's no real number, there's no real solution to this problem, and so you would just stop there. Last but certainly not least, again, we want to get the thing that's squared. We want to get him by himself. First and foremost, we add 81 to both sides. So now I have 9y squared is equal to a positive 81. This guy is still not totally by himself. I need to divide both sides by 9 first. So now I have my y squared is equal to 9. Now I can square root both sides. And remember, you're dividing your exponents. That's how that works. So y is equal to, the square root of 9 is 3. And we know when you square root, you have a positive and a negative number. I always remember this little guy, since we have y squared, I'm going to end up with 2 solutions. And so those are my 2 solutions, positive 3 and negative 3. Here's your homework, 1 through 25 odd. We'll go over this on Monday, along with your test. We're going to go over your test on Monday. There isn't a test on Monday. So I'll have those graded by Monday. Have a great weekend, you guys. Yay. Bye.